So I told Jerry on Friday morning or afternoon, I said, look, we want to have our guys perform a scout function for you. It's a critical function. One of the reasons why I did that is I wanted my people out of that camp because it had turned into a deteriorating situation, increasing infighting, and with these militias in their own separate camp, a bunch of hotheads who almost caused a problem with SWAT cars rolling by, who were seeing imaginary people out in the desert, things like that. We could see they were a ticking time bomb, and they weren't under sufficient command and control. So we did not like the situation there. We wanted our guys to pull out and be a separate unit deployed out as scouts. So I proposed that to Jerry, that we would be a scout element out on the highways. He said yes. He said that sounds good. We can use that. And so that's what we were going to do that night anyway. After that conversation, then we got a phone call. A guy from Texas called up and said, hey, I've got contacts in the DOD who have told me that Eric Holder, the AG, has given an approval for a drone strike on the ranch, on the entire area, including the Bundy's own personal home. We immediately got Jerry DeLamus on the phone, along with David Helms, who's here, is a Ranger veteran, another combat vet on my board of directors who's been with us for the last week. We got Jerry on the phone and had this gentleman repeat the same thing to Jerry to let him know what's going on. Then we took that information down immediately to the security team, to Buddha and those guys down at the home. And then Jerry and I agreed to blow it out to the media as a way to help counter it, get more cameras out there, because what he said was they want to use cover of darkness with fewer witnesses, and we said the way to counter that is to put media on it. There were media already out there. Go tell the media, and Jerry was on site. He agreed to go tell the media so that they would know to be watching that night. That's one way to keep it from happening, or if it does happen, to document it. But we hope that by blowing it out there to the media, it would make it less likely to happen. And it's important to note that Jerry DeLamus agreed to that. Then, after that, David called and told our guys we had gotten confirmation that it's not confirmed, but at least it's credible, and we need to take countermeasures. And so, David, what did you tell them when you called them?
I told them to begin moving guys out to the new CP that wanted to go and establish roving patrols. Anyone that was going to stay needed to dig in, as you said. And that's about it. That's the extent of what I told them. At that point in time, we had a later conversation.
Right. So after we told our guys that, we reiterating our point, either if you're going to be there, you got to be dug in. If you're not going to be there, you're going to deploy out, then you go deploy out as scouts. Those two things. So then what happened after that is he was assaulted. So tell us what happened.
Well, like I say, there was quite a few people coming into the CP, for information, because we were trying to get them out. But a couple of trucks drove into the yard. Guys started jumping out. I could see right away when they were getting out of the truck, they were very agitated. We had one of the men run out toward our car. I was standing in front of one of our cars. John Bidler, the Connecticut president, was standing over by the driver's door. The gentleman came and he all of a sudden started running to me and hit me right in the chest with his forearm and put me down.
And that was Jack. That's one of Jerry DeLamus's guys from New Hampshire. That's who did that. And then he dropped you in the dirt, right?
He dropped me down and he immediately went to John Bidler and basically done the same. He just physically threw him to the ground.
So he came and forearmed you in the chest.
Yeah, he was running when he did it.
And you were seeing stars?
Well, yeah, I've got these 5 stents, and I thought I was having a heart attack. Yeah, I went down pretty hard, and then I had I'll say a heck of a group of guys come around me trying to help me, and they were trying to call for a medic, and it was pretty chaotic. I mean, I can't describe it because I was seeing blue dots. I was parked here right now.
So listen, guys, after this Jack guy dropped him in the dirt and dropped John Bidler in the dirt as well, our Connecticut chapter president who was there, they told David what had happened, and David then told them, go and tell them what you told them.
Well, I'm not going to use that word, but I first said to John Bidler, get Steve Holman in the car and get out of the camp. He dithered a little bit, said, let me go do this, let me go do that. I said, no, get Steve in the car, get out of the camp. This went on about 3 or 4 times. On the 4th time, I was getting frustrated. I said, get the F out of the camp. Get Steve in the car and get the F out of the camp. Meaning those two, Steve and John.
Now, when Byler was dropped on his butt, John Byler, another guy, some mountain man militia guy, put his hand on his gun and said, I dare you to draw motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you. Sorry to cuss, but that's what he said. So they were being threatened. There were guys with their hands on their guns threatening them. That's why we told them, get out of there. We knew the situation was this close to being a gunfight, right there inside the camp. We wanted these two elderly veterans out of there. If they're not gonna respect a Vietnam vet like this with a bad heart, then what are they gonna do next? So I wanted him out. Shouldn't have to worry about this, guys. And this is the tip of the iceberg of the cluster out there. One of our guys from Montana, Rick DeLapp, who was there from the beginning, has been out there for 2 weeks in the dirt. The day of this confrontation, I come to find out, he had to draw on somebody. Two of the mountain men guys came up to him and were aggressing on him. Then one of them ran back to his vehicle and grabbed an AR and came back with an AR in his hand, and Rick had to draw on him. And then those two of those ran off. That was this close to him having to shoot that ding-a-ling. If that guy had raised his barrel, Rick would have had no choice but to shoot him. And any guys out there who were seriously trained in combat handgunning or OODA loop issues and how to fight back, if a guy goes to start to draw and puts his hand on your gun, what are you going to do? What'd you do, David?
I dropped him.
You drop him like a bad habit.
Well, let's be very clear. There's a lot of responsible. I can say the day of the Bundy standoff, everybody was responsible. There was absolutely real patriots. There were women. There were every skin color out there. There was no racism. There was none of that crap. But there were real people who were very disciplined with their weapons. It seemed like when people who stuck around, the people who were coming were a lot of responsible people. So not everybody is a bad person out there.
No, not at all. The problem is there are a small handful of complete nuts who are not kicked off the property.
And Ryan, you're one of those nuts, bro.
Yep.
Because you know what? You say people abandon their post. There's a thing called integrity and leadership, which you have none of. And that's coming from my mouth. No rumors, just me to you.
Well, my point is that there are true, like, mentally imbalanced people who are allowed to stay there with weapons. And those are the ones who threatened to shoot my guys. Those are the ones who ran back their truck and got an AR and can run. He had to draw on the guy to get him to run away. He could have shot him, but he didn't. They're the ones who are putting their hands on their guns like this and posturing or going into a gunfight or claw. Crap like that is Hollywood nonsense. Among real fighters, you get dropped when you do that because you don't have time to wait to see whether the guy's going to draw. He begins a draw stroke, you have to take him at his word and drop his ass. Right, David?
That's correct.
Yeah, you ain't got time to mess around like
It puts
that.
the real guys in a bad position.
Yeah, it puts you in a position of having to wait to see whether or not this guy's going to finish his draw stroke. So it's either a orchestrated PSYOP campaign, disinformation campaign to get us all spun up or even discredit us, intentionally done through two different source points, or it was actually a legit decision-making process that had been done, but now they're maybe sitting back and not doing it. We don't know which one it is. Either way, we're being blown up. Either they're being blown up psychologically and blown up in the media, or they were going to blow you up for real. One of the two. It was not some crackpot on the internet or an anonymous phone call with one guy. Two different sources, both of them from the DOD.